It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast to tell you that US Cellular is introducing US Mode. It's kind of like airplane mode, but it's for people. It's a way to set up your phone so it doesn't get in the way of people really being with each other. Block distractions and make way for real connection. Give it a try. Visit US Cellular in-store or online, and they'll help you set up your phone for US Mode for free, even if you're not a customer. Built for superior 5G connection and real human connection. US Cellular, built for us. Find out more at uscellular.com/find us.
Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final is in the books, and we got to break it all down for you on Monday's episode while also teeing up Game 2, including our big-time bets. We got to make a little Monday money, people. Thank you for joining us. Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden. You can check out his work all across YouTube, NHL Quick Hits, and all across the Locked On Network. And you know where to find me, baby. CBC, the Locked On Network, The Score, and anywhere you need your fantasy advice. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Game 1 is in the books, everybody. Saturday, it went down in Vegas. We're going to also break down Monday night. Game 2, big-time bets, some keys to success for both teams. Steele, I'm really excited to talk about what you saw in Game 1. Let's break that down to start off this episode. Look, this is an unpredictable final here. We didn't expect these two teams, even though I would say maybe some in the West expected Vegas to make some noise. You know how I feel about that. Game 1, though, the result, I would say, not indicative of how close the game was. Yeah. Why don't we start there? Because I think both of these teams came to play, and I'm really impressed that Vegas was that ready. We got 10 days of rest for the Florida Panthers. They did battle. What were you seeing in Game 1? Hit me with your takes from what you saw from that action.
Right from the puck drop, pure intensity from both sides, physicality and speed, just right from the get-go from both teams. And you said it yourself, the score shows a different story. It doesn't show how close the game actually was. A 5-2 win for the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 1. It was 2-2 after the first two periods. And then things broke out very well for the Vegas Golden Knights late in the third period to go up 3-2, 4-2, and then eventually an empty netter as well to make it 5-2. But the standouts for me were both goaltenders. Sergei Bobrovsky and Adin Hill were the standouts in this game. A lot of great things from the Vegas Golden Knights side, but Sergei Bobrovsky, 29 saves, an .879 save percentage, and 4 goals against. It's pretty much the first time he's done this since round 1 against the Boston Bruins, these type of numbers. And again, it's indicative of what the game, of how close the game actually was. The score sheet shows a different story than what actually went down. I thought Sergei Bobrovsky was fantastic, actually played hell of a game. I think if you look back at it, there was one goal he probably wanted to have back, the Zach Whitecloud one. It was a quick transition. He made a clutch save before that, but Zach Whitecloud finds the rebound from at the blue line and just puts it right by him. So other than that, I thought Bobrovsky played a hell of a game. I thought the Panthers, the entire group, was great. Except for the other 3 goals. They made crucial mistakes. Bad giveaways up the middle, can't clear their own zone. Those 3 mistakes ended up costing them 3 goals again. So the turnovers from the Florida Panthers, they had 14 in the game, very even from both sides, but the turnovers were very costly for the Florida Panthers in Game 1.
And that turnover to Mark Stone in the third period, which at the time when I was watching the game, and maybe because I was a little bit invested in that under 6.5, and man, did I get burned hard on that, Steele. We're not going to talk about that because we have some good bounce back bets for Monday night. We'll get there. But that was a takeaway of all takeaways. My man sniped it right out of midair and then popped it right top corner. He's also been one of the guys at the top of the NHL, though, in giveaway takeaway numbers. Mark Stone, we talked about him being an X Factor steal. I maybe didn't expect him to do it in that kind of nature. But hey, it's the Stanley Cup Final, and things are going to get a little quirky at times. But they did get chippy early, didn't they, Steele? And that was one of the things I wanted to bring up for my game one takeaway. This is a team with a matchup between two teams that really don't have any kind of history. And sometimes when you head into the playoffs, you don't need any history. And I think that's what we're seeing to get that kind of hate on and animosity. This is the Stanley Cup Final, baby. And these guys are not messing around. But I thought it was very intriguing to see it get very chippy, to see Adin Hill also get in the mix right away, start throwing blockers. I love when goaltenders get heated and start throwing blockers. Also, Adin Hill. Let's talk about that very quickly, Steele. My man is playing himself into a very nice little payday. Do I think he's going to get some kind of crazy multi-year deal? No, but he might get a juicy 2 or 3 year deal worth $3 or $4 million, and that's probably triple what he's ever made.
Double probably what he's made, but he's having a fantastic playoff run right now. And the Vegas Golden Knights are relying on this guy heavily in the back end. What an absolute game one action Stanley Cup Finals for Adin Hill. First time in the Stanley Cup Finals, first time in the playoffs, I believe, actually, and he's making the most out of it.
Right.
33 saves, of a 943 save percentage, 2 goals against.
Crazy.
And again, it was a very close game, but that TSN turning point to start the second period, if Nick Cousins buries that, it could be a completely different game. But Adin Hill sprawls out, stick saves it on the goal line. And then I can't remember who it was. It was either Pietrangelo or Zach Whitecloud who followed up and deflected that puck over then afterwards. But what a save from Adin Hill. I tweeted that out right when it happened. Very reminiscent of what Braden Holtby did back in 2018 in the Stanley Cup Finals in Game 2 action. Same arena, same end of the ice as well. So just freaky what's going on. But that was the turning point for me. Adin Hill, I've talked about this too, about how quick the Panthers can strike to start periods or to finish periods. They could have easily done that in the first minute of the second period, but Adin Hill was there to save the day. And to your point as well, him getting in a little bit of the scrums, he's done that a few times so far this playoffs. And it goes back to what we were talking about with Jordan Binnington. I love those sort of antics. Jordan Binnington takes it to an extreme extent. The last few times he's gone over the line. But Adin Hill getting into the grill of Nick Cousins and Matthew Tkachuk, absolutely love that. Don't let any player walk right over you when you've got the puck under your glove. I love that. I love that intensity from Adin Hill, and it shows the passion that he has in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I think we're set for a 7-game battle. Both teams are ready to go in game one. Both teams dispatching quality clubs en route to the Stanley Cup. They are here for a reason. We're here for a reason on Monday's episode as well, and it's to feed you with everything that you need to know from the weekend and headed into game 2 tonight, including bets and keys to success. Steele and I got a few more things we want to talk about from game 1 as well, but we got to pay these bills, baby. And we got to talk about our friends at eBay Motors. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. And the next time you need parts or accessories, you got to head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure the part fits just right the first time around. Just add it to your ride in my garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
What's up, everybody? David Harrison here of the Locked On Commanders podcast. When life gets crazy, and honestly, when doesn't it? Walmart helps you keep it all together now with a little extra help from Instacart. If you need your groceries now-ish, but your options for going to Walmart are later-ish or never-ish, you can get everything you need delivered through Instacart right to your door in as fast as an hour. Skip the shop and savor more of your crazy busy life with Walmart and Instacart. Visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your favorite team from all four major sports leagues and the NCAA, your team every single day. And make sure you're tuning in for tomorrow's episode, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Season League Rewind. Yes. We're going to take a look at both Flip and myself's hockey draft from last season. We don't want to look
at mine, Steele.
The good, the bad, and the ugly from last season.
I'll be covering the ugly part.
Yeah, definitely at the different ends of spectrum from last year, but we'll make it up next season. Remember, we're going to be dropping all of the links and details for next season's Fantasy Hockey League as well. So make sure you're tuning throughout the summer, but tune in for tomorrow's episode where we take a look back at our fantasy draft and our fantasy teams from last season. Continuing on the recap of Game 1 action from the Stanley Cup Finals, Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers getting ready for Game 2 action on Monday. But more key takeaways from Game 1, Flip.
Yes.
You know, there was a lot to love from the Vegas Golden Knights side of things. Again, the game was a lot closer than the score shows. It was a 5-2 Vegas win, but the game was a lot closer. A lot of things to love from the Florida Panthers side as well. But what else did you see from Game 1 that went well for both teams?
One of the key things, and you know, we watch way too much hockey, and when I think back to postseasons that I've really enjoyed the most, or cup runs that have been the most impressive, there's a common thread with every single one of those teams: the ability to come back from behind. You go down a goal. You saw it a lot actually last year with the Tampa Bay Lightning, because the Toronto Maple Leafs would go up, they came right back. Toronto was, in the driver's seat for a lot of that series last year, and Tampa kept coming back, and look at what they had been able to do. It's 2 Stanley Cups and 3 straight trips to the finals. Vegas has won 9 of their 13 victories this postseason, Steele, in come-from-behind fashion. And just very quickly, look, the main takeaway you've already mentioned. The score wasn't indicative of how close it was, but the second one is Vegas is starting to really show those signs of being a Stanley Cup winner. The story with Adin Hill is also one of those caveats that's important with a cup winner. Not trying to detract at all from the Panthers. And it's one game, and I think we're due for a battle here. But I just wanted to come on here and bring this point up, because if you remember, Steele, one of our key points right at the start of the postseason, we know Vegas can bring it at home. Can they win on the road and when they are up against it? And they've been able to do both of those things.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible what they've been able to accomplish. For the Vegas Golden Knights too, one of the biggest takeaways that I've seen throughout the playoffs that go hand in hand with something that you said the other day about special teams as well for both the Florida Panthers and Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas, they were high in Game 1 pre-Game 1. They were highlighting the special teams, and the Vegas Golden Knights and Florida Panthers, what I think were some of the worst penalty kill teams in the regular season.
They were outside the top half for sure.
Yeah, outside the top half in the regular season penalty kill wise. I don't think the power play has been too great for either teams as well.
Florida was better during the regular season, but has struggled in the playoffs.
Yeah, so it's gone downhill a little bit, but what I'm noticing
0-for-3,
is,
by the way, in Game 1.
Yeah, exactly. And they've taken a lot of penalties as well. They took 7 penalties, 7 penalties in Game 1. So, it's definitely hurting them if they're taking that many. But the one great thing about Vegas is they haven't had to rely on their power play for a lot of these opportunities. They make the most. They play some of the best 5-on-5 hockey in the NHL right now. They've got 55 even strength goals. Second to that is actually the Dallas Stars. With 42 even strength goals. So that shows you the difference of how great they play 5-on-5 and even strength. And one of those players, again, who's making the most and playing with his teammates is Jack Eichel. Obviously Adin Hill and Mark Stone deserve a ton of praise, but I think Jack Eichel is right there with them, if not ahead of them, and deserves a lot of praise as well for the Vegas Golden Knights. Truly just one of the most amazing talents to watch right now. Fast, quick hands, intelligent hockey IQ. His vision is just almost unmatched as well. I love watching Jack Eichel play.
credit due to also Jonathan Marchessault,
Yes.
who I think
amazing.
Fits the bill as honestly, Steele. And we throw these terms around a lot because we cover every single team on this podcast from a fantasy angle. So make sure you're tapped into that. But we need to talk about Jonathan Marchessault as one of the most underrated players and producers. And now he's getting it done at the most critical time. He has 10 goals this postseason, Steele. That's tied for second in the NHL. And obviously, I think some of these stats, as you get so deep into the postseason, are a little bit skewed because of how many games these guys have played. But also remember, they're playing those games because of how good these players have been. So Jonathan Marchessault also right there for me with Jack Eichel, who have been getting it done. And when you look at how they got the victory, Steele, aside from a really nitty-gritty game, aside from a couple of things going their way in the third period, including that Mark Stone, quote-unquote, non-high sticking call, which was very, very close. I don't even want to say they got it wrong because, like, it looked so borderline that I just don't know. But, hey, this is what happens when you got to win games in the cup, right? So, but they also steal balanced attack. Stevenson, McNabb, Theodore, Whitecloud, Stone, Riley Smith, Eichel, everyone chipping in, Adin Hill chipping in. We're in for a battle of a series. We're in for a bit of a battle of a conversation, I think, maybe about this game to tee up in some of our bets. I'm excited to get there after the break.
After the break, for sure. Also, talk about another guy who really is an X factor and stepped up as well. Shea Theodore played a hell of a game one action as well. And that's the type of player Shea Theodore usually is. You know, I know they were talking about his goalless drought. I think it was 27 games straight without a goal. But that's the type of player Shea Theodore could do. He can walk end to end with the puck on a string and just rip it top shelf. He played a hell of a game in game one as well. Got a goal and an assist, I believe. He was a crucial part of their win. Along with Jack Eichel and Ivan Barbashev, and, you know, Brady McNabb hopped in with an assist as well. So they're getting their depth players going. Jonathan Marchessault. I saw Locked On Panthers host Armando Velez. He tweeted out, you know, because Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith, two former Florida Panther players as well, burying 2 goals in game one. So he wasn't too happy about 2 former Panther players.
How's that expansion draft going for the Vegas Golden Knights? Pretty good, eh, Steele? Not too bad.
Very well.
Yeah, hey, not too bad. How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
Expansion draft teams have done very well. Seattle Kraken in their second year, you know, a hell of a run as well. So
I can't.
Vegas Golden Knights doing 3 games away from the 3 wins away. 3 wins away.
Let's
should
be
I
clear.
correct myself? Yeah, 3 wins away from taking away and hoisting the Stanley Cup, the best trophy in sports ever. Just can't wait for the remainder of Stanley Cup Finals action. Game 2 coming towards Monday night.
The NHL playoffs are here, and this one goes out to the goalies, the last line of defense, the ones who can save a game all by themselves. You know who else makes game-changing saves? Discover. They have savings accounts that earn 5 times the national savings average in interest. Could you imagine a goalie with 5 times the saves? Instant Hall of Famer. So start making some game-changing saves for yourself and check out the savings account at Discover. Discover Bank, member FDIC. See terms and learn more at discover.com/savings.
But thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support you show us. Please hammer the subscribe, hammer the follow button, share with your friends and family. Leave a review on Apple and Spotify. We appreciate all the feedback. Leave some comments on the YouTube channel. DM us on Twitter, LO_FantasyNHL. And again, we appreciate all the support. You can find our episodes Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and Flip.
Yep.
You know, big time bets at the end of the episode.
Coming up
later, but look ahead for game 2 action. I'll throw it back over to you.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to, and look, I came on, was it Friday's episode and said, I'm riding with Panthers. I'm riding with them in 7 games as my prediction. I have a bet on the Panthers in 7 games plus 550 Steele, I think is what we got locked in there at the start of the series. So I'm biased. I'm going to get to the bets in a sec. But the key for me for the Panthers, and I think I mentioned it quickly before we jumped on, and some of the penalties got a little grisly there, and a lot of them were in the third period. 7 penalties is way too many. You just cannot be, and hey, you question if you want, but 7 times putting Vegas up on the power play, it's just too many. And I know, looking at these numbers, maybe a couple of those canceled out. Could have been 4-on-4. I don't remember. But you know what I'm saying? Too many opportunities for this Golden Knights team. And I think they just need to bring it at times a little bit from Matthew Tkachuk. Needs to be his normal self. We need some production from him. And I'm not saying he was bad in game 1. And I'm not saying the Panthers were bad in game 1. But we know the best players on these teams need to shine. Eichel was effective. Marchessault was effective. We talked about the blue line for the Knights. I need to see some Verhaeghe action. I need to see some Tkachuk action. I want to see the big guns up front for the Panthers, maybe set the tone early in game 2. So those are my main 2 tee-ups for game 2. Stay out of the box, get Matthew Tkachuk going early, because we know the confidence for this team, aside from when Bob gets hot, it runs through Matthew Tkachuk all day long.
Yeah, and I know it was late in the game, late in the third period, but Matthew Tkachuk cannot lose his cool. He needs to stay composed in these games right here in the Stanley Cup Finals. Again, I know it was at the end of the game, and it was already 4-2 or 5-2. Yeah, it was 4-2 at that point. But you cannot afford to be thrown out of the game in the last 5 minutes in a 4-2 Stanley Cup Game 1 action. Yeah. We know Matthew Tkachuk is one of the best players in the game right now, one of the best fantasy players to own as well. Sure. You cannot afford to lose your cool and let your emotions explode the way they did in game 1. He needs to stay composed. And if that continues to happen, look, this is how Matthew Tkachuk gets exposed. When he gets frustrated, he gets very cheap, shoddy, very physical in a negative way, and it hurts his team. It was already 4-2 again late in the game, but Matthew Tkachuk needs to stay composed moving forward. Again, that's where we're kind of, it's hard to compare these players because Jack Eichel's coming off an injury from last year, and Tkachuk's had an 105.
Different styles too.
Different styles, but this is where the two stars sort of separate. Yes. Jack Eichel doesn't cross over that line, but he still plays a physical game, and he protects his teammates as well.
And we talked a lot about who's going to seize this opportunity, who's going to really – Adin Hill, regardless of who wins, he continues to play like that. He's made a name for himself, and he's going to make some bank next year. But when it comes to guys on the platform that Eichel and Tkachuk are already on, and especially as American hockey players, they have such an opportunity, like we said, to establish their franchise with their first Stanley Cup championship and themselves as real deal superstars in this league. And you're talking exactly into that narrative. So I fully agree with you. And at the end of the day, I'm a little bit concerned that at the end of it all, Steele, is the Florida offense, their ability to get gritty and kind of cause some trouble for the opposition and score a goal when the other team is rattled because they, have taken the heat to them physically. The Vegas Golden Knights are not going to be pushed around. So let's see what happens there. Also, let's see what happened with your bets, my friend. What are you looking at here? Where are we making some cash if you're ready to go there?
Yeah, let's head over there. Bets were pretty clean in game 1 action. I took the over 5.5. That banged out for me. Jonathan Marchessault, first-time goal scorer. I meant first time for Vegas. It was so close. But,
I'm going to let you have that, but maybe next time let's just go Marchessault anytime goal because Marchessault anytime point banged out for me.
Yeah,
I got burned hard on that under, though.
Yeah, the under, I told you, the rest and the time off for the Florida Panthers. Again, the score was very indicative of how close the game actually was. But
it wasn't.
It wasn't. But that rest and time off, I just thought it was a little too much.
Good bet.
Panthers in game 1. So over banged out for me. I wish I went with the anytime goal from Marchessault. That would have banged out as well. The Vegas money line banged out for me, so I was very happy with my picks in game 1. I feel very confident moving with game 2 as well. I'll just rattle all 3 off if you don't mind.
Please.
First pick of the night. Vegas, Florida, under 5.5 at plus 106. I'm taking the under in game 2. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a standout game from Sergei Bobrovsky like we've seen in the second and third round. But I'm going with the under at 5.5 at plus 106. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a tighter defensive group.
We got a side bet coming, but I'm here for it.
Love it. So I'm taking the under 5.5 at plus 106. My second pick, I want your opinion on this one, actually.
Okay.
Jack, because it's very juicy. It's very juicy. Jack Eichel over half an assist at -118 is the safe way to go. That's the one I'm dealing with. But I was also feeling Jack Eichel over 1.5 assists at +460. +460.
Whoa. Is that what it is?
It's +460 right now at over 1.5 assists, I believe.
So yeah, he bangs 2 assists. You're getting juicy odd.
Juicy odds at that.
I would ride with it, Steele. I would also make sure that that's maybe included on a 2 or 3 pick same game parlay. Maybe ride with your favorite other 2 picks and then slap Eichel on there because it's going to line up nicely with one of my bets. But why don't you finish yourself off?
So I'm feeling that. And then to end it off, Vegas on the money line at -140. I think this is going to be a close game. I think this could be an overtime game under, but Vegas comes up 2-0 after 2 games.
I just Steele at this point in the season, and we've had some pretty good success with our bets in the postseason, so I'll take that overall. Let me hit you with my first bet, and then we'll maybe break this down to finish the episode. Matthew Tkachuk is going to need to respond in a big way, and he is that kind of player to do just that. And looking at, I was like, I just want to kind of cop out with a Tkachuk anytime point. Maybe I'll add that to a same game parlay because I know the odd is going to be bad. Tkachuk anytime point, just one, -370. So there's no value there, even in a same game parlay. And I thought about it a little bit differently. He's going to need to affect this game in more than just one goal. So he's going to get in on at least a couple. Give me the Matthew Tkachuk over 1.5 total points, anytime points at +182. A good odd that will look nice on your same game parlay. He bags a goal and an assist. He bags 2 assists. We're in the money. And I'm riding with the over, Steele. I think both teams are going to come out in a big way, and we saw it getting physical. That usually leads to some special teams advantages on one side or the other. We know penalty killing is not a specialty for either club. I know I'm selling this as a hard sell. Give me the over 5.5 at -130, and I'm going with the bounce back Cats. Panthers on the money line for my lock of the night at +116, getting another good odd. And I think, Steele, if I was to really cop out, and I'm trying to build, like in my mind, a lock same game parlay, I might take the Panthers +1.5 for like a dirty odd because I'm with you. It's going to be a 1-goal game, right? It feels like OT is coming. So I would ride with the Panthers +1.5 to really cop out, but I think they're going to take this victory, and I'll take the +116 odd.
We've got a few side bets here. I'm going Vegas all the way for game 2.
Should we put 10 on each?
Let's put $10 on each. You've got the over. I've got the under.
Yep.
So what, $10? So $20 total?
10 on the total and 10 on, I'll take Panthers. You got Vegas, money line.
$20 total for those 2 side bets right there. This time we'll actually follow through. I think we'll follow through on this one. I think
birthday payout. It's Gemini season, baby.
Gemini season, baby. Birthday payout. June 2nd and June 12th. Here it is. Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning is where you can find all of our episodes. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.